Welcome to Blood Moon Milk, the astrology show that comes out every new and full moon to help guide you on your mindfulness, meditation, and manifestation journey. I'm your host, Aurora. Thank you for joining me. If you're here live, nobody's here yet. That's okay. Maybe somebody will show up eventually. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the new moon that's going to be happening on April 27th, 2025. It's this Sunday at 3:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Before we get into all that astrological goodness, though, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping. If you like me, if you like the show, please share it. That's how I grow. Also, if you really, really like the show and you want more astrology in your inbox, every morning I send out the daily dose. It's $7.99 a month for the whole month. You get daily astrological updates from me that tell you all about the most important daily transits to give you a head start on the energy coming your way throughout the day. And it's a really good education tool. You can learn a little bit about astrology as the days go on and impress your friends with your very astute astrological knowledge. Okay, so enough about how to support me, other than share, like, subscribe, all those things. It's raining here and it's really dark because of the rain. So I'm sorry if it feels a little gloomy and weird. I'm in the midst of finishing up grad school, so I haven't had as much time to devote to developing scripts for the show. So I'm trying this live format out as a way to stretch myself, but also to just practice speaking off the cuff without scripting things and speaking from the heart. So if you're following me on social media and I've been a little quiet, it's because I've been really dug into getting all of my final projects done for my master's degree. So I'm this close, almost done, and we'll be graduating in just a few short weeks. So then I will have more opportunity to devote time to building the show, building the brand, and all that good stuff. But let's go ahead and get into the astrology of the new moon. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen together. Okay, so this is the astrology chart. I've got a couple extra glyphs up here. I'll explain what they are when I get into it. But this is the chart for this new moon, and it's kind of complicated. We've got some major tensions here, but before we get into all of the details, let me just remind you that new moons are an opportunity to set goals, to really meditate on what your intentions are, what that you want to manifest into your life. So between now and Sunday, when the new moon is, it's the ideal time to clean, to make space in your life for fresh new energy to come in. And so give yourself a shot at cultivating the best version of this energy that's available for you by making space for new stuff to come in. How do we do that? We clean our physical spaces and our minds. So the quickest way to make changes in your life around you is to physically make changes in your space. That can be as simple as taking out the trash and doing your dishes, doing your laundry, all that stuff we need to do anyway, but just do it now to make space and energetic availability for new things to come in with the onset of that new moon. And then after you get all your chores done, make sure you set some time aside, especially Sunday morning, to relax, to chill out, and to really just rest. Because as soon as that new moon hits, the energy starts to build again, and we're off to the races come Monday. So this really is an opportunity to wind down, to clean things up, clear some space, and then relax. So just a heads up about that. But let's look at the details of this new moon. Now, new moons are always conjunct the sun, and this new moon is no different. It's at 7 degrees, 46 minutes. So 7 degrees, 46 minutes. We have the sun and the moon here in Taurus in the 9th house of this chart. What's interesting to me is looking over here in the sign of Virgo at 8 degrees, right where the rising sign for this new moon is, we also have the vertex. The vertex is a really interesting part of astrological. It's a part of that's the part of fortune. Vertex is over here, but similar concept. The part of fortune ushers in good luck and opportunity. And so if you happen to have anything at 7, 8 degrees of the earth signs, because we have this new moon in Taurus, this is at 8 degrees of Virgo, also an earth sign. If you have stuff at 8 degrees Capricorn, this would benefit you as well. And also water signs will also benefit from that 7, 8 degree mark of energy during this new moon, this energy portal for new beginnings to come in. However, this new moon isn't super easy. We've got some intense aspects happening. And I think we can all feel it. But the thing about new moons is that it just turns the volume down on the energy. So even though we feel the tension, it's going to be like listening through a cement wall. Like imagine a concert and you're outside, but the concert's still happening. You're just on the other side of that energy, but you know it's happening. There's not much you can do about it from being outside other than hear that kind of muffled energy booming away on the inside. That's kind of the vibe of very stressful situations going on during a new moon. They will continue to unravel and unfold, especially as that moon gains its power and builds an intensity towards that full moon. But as we go along, we'll notice the volume getting turned up. But during the full moon, it is actually quite sort of subtle. However, this is the major aspect I'm looking at during this new moon. It's the Mars-Pluto opposition. The moon is in a fixed sign, the fixed earth sign of Taurus. We've got Mars in the fixed fire sign of Leo at 4 degrees, squaring this new moon. And then we have Pluto at 3 degrees, almost 4 degrees, almost perfectly opposite Mars here. During this new moon at the sign in the sign of Aquarius at 3 degrees 48 minutes. So very, very close in opposition, not exact, but close enough to feel the intensity for sure. And it is square to this new moon. Now, what are the hallmarks of a Leo, Mars and Leo opposite Pluto and Aquarius dynamic? Well, Mars is action, and Leo, it is flamboyant. It likes the spotlight, and it leads with heart. It leads with integrity. It has a sense of fairness and justice, but it also, it wants to be seen and appreciated for everything that it's done. And it can get a chip on its shoulder when it feels unappreciated. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is this energy that we have been in since November 19th, when Pluto moved into Aquarius for the first time. For the last time, really. It'll be in Aquarius the next 20 years. And he's getting ready to go retrograde. So he's starting to build an intensity. Pluto goes retrograde. Let me find out. Pretty soon. It's I want to say it's May 4th. May 4th. I should remember that. May the 4th be with you. On May 4th, Pluto goes retrograde and will start working his way backwards. So some of these power dynamics that we've been seeing unfolding since November 19th are going to be revised. So what we have is Mars, the warrior planet, opposing Pluto in Aquarius, which is all about humanitarianism and what is good for large groups of people. Going back and really reconsidering what has happened thus far since he moved into Aquarius back in November. I have to take a sip of my drink. So that brings up aggression, power struggles, conflict. People's bandwidth for dealing with BS is going to be very, very thin. Luckily, this is a new moon, so the volume will be much more peaceful than normal. If this was going on during a full moon, I would say stay at home, folks. Don't risk going out, especially not places with crowds, places where there might be people with weapons. In general, avoid aggressive circumstances. And I'm going to apologize in case you're listening and you hear Pickle in the background chewing on her bone. She's allowed to do that. So we love that Pickle is feeling better and she's chewing away. But if you hear a little puppy in the background, that's what's happening. So we've got this power dynamic happening and unfolding. But luckily, and I say luckily because this new moon is dialing the volume of that energetic turmoil down, I don't think it's going to be as obvious. However, Pluto doesn't go retrograde until May 4th, and he is going to be moving towards being directly opposite Mars as the moon increases in power. So that's a transit that I'll be keeping my eye on, and something I have already written about in the Daily Dose. So if you're subscribed to that, you'll be getting those updates. But that's something to be aware of, especially when it comes to geopolitical tensions and what's going on in America with our politics. This is a classic signature of some kind of aggravated assault being kicked off, or some sort of skirmish, battle, war. That kind of energetic signature is a hallmark of a declaration of war. Now, this can be on a personal level, especially if you have sensitive planetary points at 4 degrees, 3 degrees of those fixed signs. You could be feeling this intensely personally. But if you're just, like a random person who is witnessing this on the fray, you have 4 degrees and 3 degrees of Leo and Aquarius somewhere in your chart. So just be aware of where these tensions are unfolding, because it could affect you profoundly in one way or another. But so this is the Taurus new moon, and Taurus is ruled by one of my favorite planet. Come on, Venus. Venus is finally direct. We're starting to see the stock market pick up and gain some momentum after 6 weeks of declines, which I predicted way back at the beginning of the year. And she's very closely conjunct to these 3-4 planetary points here. So let's talk about this little Piscean cluster. We've got the North Node in Pisces. He's at 26 degrees, conjunct Saturn in Pisces, conjunct Venus in Pisces, who is conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. This is still a conjunction, even though these two are out of the same sign. Pisces is obviously the most advanced, the last of the water signs. Neptune, Pisces ruler, is now in Aries, which is another indicator and hallmark of political upsets happening, is now in Aries at 0 degrees 59 minutes. So he's at the last little bit of the most intense degrees of Aries. And so it's a conjunction, even though they're not in the same sign, degree-wise, they are close enough. I like to use, some astrologers use an orb of 10 degrees. I think that's kind of wide. I like 5 degrees for a really, like, an accurate reading. So I'll say that all of these are conjunct regardless of sign because of degree right now. Not so much Mercury. Mercury's at 11 degrees of Aries right now, which means that we could be firing off thoughts very, in communications in a sort of willy-nilly, no holds barred style, just whatever comes to mind, poof, there it goes, regardless of consequences. So be aware that we might be saying things that we don't have the chance to really think through in terms of consequences. So that could certainly be something that we're seeing play out during this new moon, though. So this little cluster here is really interesting, and it's telling. So North Node, first of all, is destiny, but it's also difficult. It represents growth. And in Pisces, it's asking us as a society collectively to trust in the universe, trust that the universe will provide and take us to where we need to be, regardless of external influences and circumstances. I know things get darkest before the dawn. This is one of those moments where it's pretty dark. And I say that because here we also have Saturn, which is all about karma and lessons. And conjunct the North Node, this is a difficult lesson for all of us to trust in at the moment collectively. And then Venus being under Saturn's influence here because she's so close to him, Saturn is really kind of tamping down Venus's influence. But the further she gets away from him, the better we'll all start to feel. And she is starting to gain a little bit of momentum and get out of her shadow period because she was retrograde, and she's still retracing some of these steps that she took during her retrograde phase. So as she builds momentum and gets out of Pisces and gets into Aries and gets moving, things will pick up. Momentum will feel a little bit lighter, a little bit better. But right now, while she's still in Pisces at these last few degrees under the influence of the North Node and Saturn, we're going to feel like all things Venusian are in short supply. However, this is still a great time to meditate and to get in touch with your subconscious, because as the moon progresses, as it builds in steam, the energy too will also pick up steam and things will really pick up the pace. So it's, even though things might seem very serious and there is a real dose of reality that we're all having to face in some area of our life, because we all have these planets in our charts somewhere, it's still valuable, I think, for personal growth reasons to take the time and to sit with the discomfort. That's the only real way to move past uncomfortable feelings and trauma, is not to distract ourselves by, the latest, greatest, hottest person, place, or thing, but it's really to sit with our own vulnerabilities and our own sense of discomfort. So we really know what that feels like, because if we know what it feels like internally, then we know how it feels when other people are in pain. And it increases our sense of empathy and kindness for others who are going through similar circumstances. And maybe we can help. Maybe we can be a source of alleviation from these circumstances, or at least be understanding. It really does take everybody dealing with their own internal stuff first to be able to show up for society at large, if we're going to have a society. And I think it's one of the perennial issues with our society is we've been distracted for too long. And it's easy for us to ignore those feelings of discomfort and tamp them down and distract ourselves with something. It could be something like work or working out, going to the gym, or, preoccupying ourselves with caring for other people. But if you have real issues coming up for you, I think that this is a wonderful time to be able to carve out some time, space, and solitude and silence for yourself to reflect and be vulnerable with yourself. Nobody has to witness it, but just be vulnerable with yourself. Admit the feelings that come up for you, write them down, journal about them, and acknowledge them so that you can move on. Because we're all going to have to show up as our best selves moving forward. When these planets start to move on and these outer planets start to move into Aries, and we're going to have a Neptune Aries conjunction at 0 degrees Aries next year, that's going to be a big, big deal. And between now and then, we are being called to reconcile and deal with things that may have fallen apart, parts of ourselves we're not too proud of or too happy about, and make real concerted efforts to build something out of the rubble of the things that have fallen apart, but make something that lasts and something that has integrity. So we're being offered this opportunity, even though it's difficult, to sit with ourselves and reflect so that we can all move forward with a sense of integrity and empathy for our fellow humanity. And that's what I think that this astrology is pointing towards. But it is not easy. It is uncomfortable. That North Node points to it being difficult, especially when it's conjunct Saturn. So that's just some food for thought. And we have this very strong sort of trine here between Venus at 28 degrees, almost at the 29th degree of Pisces, and Juno in Scorpio. And this has to do with relationships and also the balance of assets within relationships. And so Juno is at 27 degrees of Scorpio, trining Venus. So there could be emotions that come up in regards to devotion, to strategy, and how we show up within relationships and what we might be hiding from ourselves. So subconscious here is going to be, the themes of subconscious are very, very strong still. So dreams right now could be incredibly telling. If you don't have a notepad or a journal or some kind of something to write down your dreams, first thing when you wake up, I strongly suggest you have one. But right now, I think more than ever, in a lot of ways, because of this cluster, our dreams are, and our subconscious really are trying to communicate with us. And sometimes they don't always make sense until later. So that's positive energy, but it's also working with the North Node. So it's, Juno and Scorpio here at 27 degrees. So if you have anything at 27 degrees of Scorpio all the way up to 2 degrees of Sagittarius, this could be affecting you too. And it's going to be working with that Neptune energy. So it's money, it's finances, it's subconscious motivations, it's how we show up in partnerships, it's finances, it's creativity, it's inspiration, it's also divine connection with the universe. So all of these things kind of trying to shake us up cosmically so that we can wake up with a bit of clarity and a little bit of direction. I know the last 6 weeks or so since we entered eclipse season with the retrogrades with Mercury and Venus have all been pretty intense, but we're starting to come out of that energy now and have a sense of direction. And this is the first new moon since that period opened up where we have all of our planets direct. So that's exciting. We only have about 3 weeks this whole year when we have all of our planets direct. So this is one of the best new moons of the year. So if you have intentions or goals, this is definitely the time to be writing those down and starting to make real practical actions as to how to achieve those things. So it's one of just, I think it's the only new moon of the year we get like this. We'll have a full moon, and then I think May 4th, that's the first day we've got planets going retrograde. The rest of the year, we'll be dealing with some kind of retrograde planet somewhere along the line. So it's a very, very brief window in a year full of change. And a lot of change kind of feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards sometimes, especially when there's so many retrograde planets and big planetary sign changes, and especially in these outer planets like Neptune moving into Aries, can really feel disorienting, but that's okay. This is a golden opportunity. We're only going to get 1 new moon in Taurus this year, and it's at 7 degrees of Taurus, so make the best use of it. What else do we have going on? And if you're watching, feel free to chime in, ask any questions. Hi, Ashley. Yeah, your dreams have been crazy. Mine have been crazy also. It's good to see you. Thanks for watching. Let's keep going. Okay, so we've talked about Saturn. We've talked about Venus. We've talked about Neptune. Let's talk about what's going on with Mercury. Mercury, thankfully, he is direct now. He's no longer retrograde. This is a good time if you need to get a car, new phone, upgrade your technology. A good time to do that after the new moon because he's far enough away from where he was when he went retrograde to be in the clear with that stuff. So green light on all those things. And then let's see. We've got a lot of stuff going on with Uranus too. I haven't talked about him yet. Uranus and Taurus, he's getting towards the end of his stay in Taurus. And this is another planet that's changing signs this year. He'll be moving on into Gemini come this summer. And anytime one of these outer planets change signs, there's a lot of disruption. And Uranus is the king of disruptive, chaotic energy. He rules all things electrical and genius and spontaneous, but he really is sort of this think of him like Mercury. Like, we know kind of what Mercury feels like because we sense mercurial energy during a Mercury retrograde. Think of Uranus like Mercury on steroids. He is incredibly magnetic in terms of his ideas just showing up. It's like a switch has been flipped and the idea just pops into your head, completely like formed and ready for you to take action on it. It just shows up. Uranus is the planet that rules the sign of Aquarius. It's famously unpredictable. And as it gets to the end of its stay in Taurus, it's going to really mess with the financial markets even more so. I know nobody likes to hear that, but I think that knowing that things will be more and more volatile in advance is valuable. So be aware if you are an investor, if you're looking for looking at buying a place to live and you're looking at mortgages, I suspect that mortgage rates are going to go up later this year. Because of the volatility that's going to come from, or that we'll see while Uranus is making his way through the end of Taurus. So just be aware of that. And also, he is opposite Juno here too. So there could be these conflicts that come up with if you have anything at the 26th, 27th degree on that Scorpio Taurus axis, we've got Juno there and Uranus. And so if you have relationships, like if you have your moon in that sign or something like that, relationships could really get like taken to like dialed up to 11 now, and then go back down, like just be very erratic and unpredictable while this dynamic is going on. So just be aware of that. And this is why I tell people it's a good thing to know what your astrology chart is, what your planets are, because you can kind of get a sense of what might unfold for you as the planets change signs and as they move around. So if you have a question, I'd be happy to have a session with you and look at your chart and give you a heads up. And I also give all my clients personalized transits until their next appointment with me too. So you have something that's personalized every day to look at, to help guide you, that is personalized specifically to you. But yeah, this is definitely going to be shaking things up on the romantic front, because of this influence, this dynamic here between Uranus and Juno. And Juno is, she is all hearth and home and devotion. In mythology, she was Zeus's or Jupiter's wife, and she was famously slighted and vindictive. And in Scorpio, she's even more vindictive because she's really passionate and frankly ruthless. And with Uranus opposing her, that could really, really, really shake things up and set some people up for some big surprises, especially if you have 26, 27 degrees of Taurus or Scorpio in your charts. Let's look at Jupiter. Jupiter, I don't want to leave you out. You're one of my favorite planets too. Jupiter's at 20 degrees of Gemini. He's finally making his way into that last decant of Gemini. So he is 2/3 of the way through the sign, and he is harmonizing with Black Moon Lilith in a sort of, well, no, it's sort of a sesquisquare. It's not harmonizing, but this could also contribute to some of these upsets on the home front, especially for Taurus and Scorpio, people who are heavy in the 5 to 27 degrees. If you've got stuff right around in there, I think there could be big communication, things that are coming to light, because Jupiter and Gemini is a big talker. It loves big ideas. It's really curious, but things also tend to just come out without a lot of forethought, especially with Mercury and Aries too. So somebody might be blabbing, somebody could say something that they didn't mean to say, and that kind of lets the cat out of the bag, and well, there goes something, there goes the evening or the relationship, or the situation will be different for each person, but there's definitely a signature here for secrets being revealed. Maybe not right around the new moon, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some kind of secrets happening or coming to light by the full moon for sure, because the full moon will be in Scorpio. So, and then connecting with some of these planets and opposing Uranus most likely as well. I have not looked at the full moon chart yet because I've, again, been stuck into grad school stuff. Honestly, this is the first time I've looked at the new moon chart. So all of this is, none of this is scripted. This is all just my interpretation and what's coming to me as I'm sitting here. So what else is going on? Well, we've got Chiron. Chiron is still at 23 degrees, almost 24 degrees of Aries, making his way steadily through the sign. And he's in the 8th house of this chart, which so Taurus is on the Taurus Scorpio axis. So we've got peace and comfort and stability on one side, and then we have Scorpio, which is intensely passionate and secretive, and it's the yin and the yang of those two signs, right? But with Chiron here, he's harmonizing with Jupiter, so this is healing opportunities and conversations around healing and what people need, and it's pretty good. These are not exactly sextile. They're rather, it's air and fire, not same element. Sorry if I misspoke. But this is a good opportunity for healing, and this isn't dependent on the new moon. This transit, especially as Jupiter starts making his way towards 22, 23 degrees, he'll be exactly sextile. So there could be the opportunity for healing conversations that come about over the next couple of weeks. But it's great to go ahead and set that intention during this particular new moon, so that as the energy builds, you have that goal in mind, that you want to have healing conversations with people, that you want to connect with a part of yourself that maybe has been hidden or needs some healing, and also this speaks to being able to talk about your own grief and pain in ways that can be helpful and healing to other people. And that's something I've noticed personally lately. I was talking to a friend of mine who lost somebody very special to her the other day, and I shared my philosophy on grief, which I've had a lot of that in my life, and I'll share it with you because why not? You're here, you're listening. So I think of grief as being a sense of unfounded, ungrounded love and energy. And usually if you think of energy needing a circuit to go through, and you're sending energy and there's a receptacle, a person or some sort of project or something that receives the energy and then sends that energy back to you. But when someone you love passes away or a relationship ends, we go through a grieving process because that entity, that person, that relationship, what have you, has been plucked from your environment. And it doesn't mean they're not there anymore, but they're not in that circuit anymore, able to send and communicate to you in the ways that you're used to. And so it's that sense of ungroundedness, that flailing raw nerve, that wire that has been ungrounded, that is just flailing around. And I think that's what's really painful. Not that we don't love the person anymore, but there's just no conduit for that energy to be circulated back to us. But I think, especially in terms of grief, when it comes to people who have passed away, I think of them as not being physically here, but they're in the ether around us. Their energy and their love still exists, but we have to learn to connect on different levels. And anyway, so I shared that perspective with a friend the other day, and she said that was very helpful and healing for her. And so maybe that will help somebody. I don't know. But let's keep looking at what's going on. So Jupiter is going to be talking to, I keep looking at this Black Moon Lilith and Jupiter here. This is a harsh angle. And there's a lot of harshness going on, but there's also a lot of positive energy as well. So for people with a lot of Aries placements and a lot of Pisces placements, also Virgo and Taurus, y'all are up for, and also Libra, you're getting it too, because we've got Neptune, Mercury, and Chiron all opposing Libra placements. So that's going to bring up a lot of conversations and some illusions, especially for folks with Libra stuff going on. In the case of Virgo folks, you're getting a Saturn opposition. You have been for quite some time. I know a lot of Virgos who have really struggled with some health problems over the last year and a half, 2 years, as Saturn has been making his way through that. But Aries, you're up next, though. I mean, he's only 3.5 degrees away from moving into Aries and starting this whole new cycle. But it won't be until next year for sure, like when that really starts to move into that part of the chart. But I do think that there's some really lovely things going on, especially, here we go, Pallas Athena at 20 degrees, perfectly trine, only 10 minutes away from being perfectly trine to Jupiter. So this is strategy. And this brings me some hope for our political situation in America. I don't think it's any secret that I'm fairly liberal with my political leanings. So, but this Pallas placement, this is strategy. And in Aquarius at 20 degrees, it's thinking of how do we put strategy into place, being perfectly trine to Jupiter. Well, we're going to do this in a big way. It's going to be public. It's in the 10th house of this chart. So even though, so the moon's still new, even though things are not obvious here yet, I think as this moon moves on and as it starts to gain in speed, especially as we get closer and closer to that Mars-Pluto opposition, I think we're going to see some real developments, potentially politically speaking. I just heard before I hopped on to do the live that the first senator has called for a Trump impeachment. And as a native-born Georgia girl, I was very proud of John Ossoff for doing that today. So there's hope. And this is one of these charts that I look at saying like this, there is hope and a real sense of darkness before the dawn. And certainly these last degrees of Pisces are the darkness for sure. And the dawn really won't come until next year and on into 2027. We're in the pits of it now. But we're setting the stage. We're setting the stage for the things that we're going to do. We're certainly talking about it. Pallas Athena is the great strategizer. And so things will be unfolding and happening. And it's for the benefit of humanity. So this is an encouraging placement to see during a new moon, because it'll take at least 6 months for the things that are planted now with intention to transpire. So we'll see these things unfolding in Scorpio season, when things get really like really have time to develop and unfold. What else do we have going on? Well, I've talked about almost everybody. Well, this little glyph here, this is Eros. Eros is the son of Aphrodite, or Venus also, but he is a masculine representation of eroticism and sexuality, and the need and the desire for physical contact and um, for love and affection. And he's sextile this moon. So this is, he's not perfectly sextile, but he's sextile enough to be planting that seed of love and passion. And so even though Venus is at 28 degrees of Pisces, she's not making any real direct connection with this new moon, which is a bit of a shame. She is working with Uranus, and that tells me that there could be unexpected developments, unexpected connections, and opportunities for love, for romance, for passion, and to connect romantically. And so, that's one of the lovely things about astrology, is that these transits can be really subtle and used for whatever it is you want to use them for. It's up to you what you want to do with it, and to be mindful about it. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and then I'm going to talk about the intentions that I wrote for you all for mindfulness, meditation, and manifestation. So take a look at your chart, figure out which house 7 degrees of Taurus is, and that will give you, the house to set your intentions in. So I'll start with Aries rising. If you have Aries rising, this new moon would be in your second house, the house of self-worth, money, possessions, and values. So think of this as a time to redefine your worth and your values and what you're willing to fight for. That Mars-Pluto opposition squaring the new moon can push you on with creative confidence to go deeper within power dynamics. And ask yourself if you're building a life that's aligned with what you truly value, or what you think you should, like what people have told you. And really consider, what is it that's really speaking to you within your heart? With Taurus energy, it is all about the heart. So if you're a Taurus rising, this would put this new moon in your first house, most likely. And this is the house of identity and self-expression, the body, and personal new beginnings. So this is a whole new personal rebirth for you Taurus rising folks. This is your new moon in a lot of ways. And think about that Mars-Pluto opposition, because that's the strongest aspect in this chart. This tension really challenges you to claim your power while navigating professional pressure and creating a whole new beginning for yourself. So consider who it is that you're becoming, and ask yourself if you're brave enough to let go of who you've been in the past to make a new beginning. Now, if you're a Gemini rising, this will be in your 12th house, the house of rest, dreams, the unconscious, spiritual healing. And so this new moon is a seed that grows in the hidden corners of your soul. Mars-Pluto opposition could bring up subconscious fears and bring them into the light. So consider what part of you is ready to dissolve into dreamy nothingness. So something new and sacred could be reborn. If you're a Cancer rising, this new moon will be in your 11th house, the house of community, future visions, dreams, allies, and social connections and impact. Now, this new moon is a new dream taking root, one that needs both vision and accountability. And the Mars-Pluto opposition can create some tension between financial control and freedom. So really consider what that theme is bringing up for you, and ask yourself what kind of future you're investing in, and identify allies who are helping to build it with you and foster those connections. If you're a Leo rising, this new moon will be in your 10th house, career, reputation, public purpose, and your public persona. And this seed that's planted now with this new moon could change your legacy. Mars in your sign may clash with power structures, that Pluto opposition, or just bring on some internal pressure that is fighting to control the outcome. So ask yourself, what does leadership look like when it comes from an embodied truth instead of your ego? And maybe consider just letting go a little bit, because Pluto is going to win out in the Mars Pluto dynamic. It just will. It's more powerful. So letting go instead of being resisted of change can really be a weight off your shoulders now. Leo rising, folks. Now, Virgo rising, this will be in your 9th house, your house of beliefs, wisdom, travel, spiritual growth, and philosophy. So this new moon offers a shift in worldview and begins with maybe a quiet revelation. That Mars-Pluto opposition brings friction between private fears and public convictions. So what beliefs no longer serve the future that you're trying to build? What are you willing to let go of or invest in more heavily? Libra rising, this is going to be in your 8th house, the house of shared resources, transformation, intimacy, and shadow work. So, and sex as well. So transformation starts beneath the surface. You might not even be entirely aware of it. That Mars-Pluto opposition could stir up some serious sense of vulnerabilities around trust and control, especially in your relationships. So ask yourself what it is that you're ready to release, even if it scares you, in order to reclaim your inner power and work towards something that you know is truly yours. Because I have a feeling there is something there that's going to be coming up for you, especially with all that's going on that I mentioned earlier. Scorpio risings, this is in your 7th house of relationships, agreements, balance, and connection. This new moon invites in new terms on how you relate within these relationship dynamics. The Mars-Pluto square can provoke power struggles or passionate intensity. So ask yourself how you can really fully, completely show up in your relationships without giving away your sense of self, your identity. You don't want to erase yourself just to be in a relationship, because then you're not in a relationship. You're assuming somebody else's identity. But how can you show up as a partner? And really think about that and set those intentions with integrity. Sagittarius risings, this will be in your 6th house, the house of health, routines, service, daily rhythm. So there could be a new pattern that wants to take hold because of this new moon, but it's going to need your attention and your devotion. That Mars-Pluto opposition can add real tension between restlessness and obligation. So make sure you're paying attention to your body and really making sure that your health is a priority, because if you don't have that, can't do much else. You can't travel. I know you want to, Sagittarius risings. So ask yourself what daily rituals really nourish the life that you want to live, and act on it accordingly. Now, Capricorn risings, this is going to be in your 5th house, the house of creativity, romance, pleasure, and your inner child. You're asked to take your joy seriously, which kind of sounds counterintuitive, but you need to do it. If you don't prioritize joy and play, your life is very dull. And that Mars-Pluto square can challenge how much control you place around vulnerability and desire. So really consider how freeing it might be to talk about what really scares you, especially with the people you care about. And so ask yourself which creative spark you're willing to fan into a fire, even if it scares you, because I think that could be really key for this next phase, this next cycle that we're entering into. Now, Aquarius risings, this new moon will be in your 4th house, the house of home, mothers and roots, and also your sense of emotional foundations. Now, this new moon plants its roots in your past, your family, and your real emotional soil, what your comfort zone really is. And that Mars-Pluto opposition squaring this new moon can stir up tensions between your public image and your private life. So really consider where you feel safest expressing your truth, and what foundation do you need in order to thrive and not just exist. We want thriving people, not just muddling along. So really examine your approach to things. And last but definitely not least, dear Pisces risings, this new moon is in your third house, the house of communication, mindset, short-term travel, siblings, and local immediate environment. So this could be a quiet shift in the way that you speak, think, or share your inner voice and vision. That Mars-Pluto opposition square to the new moon could pressure you to choose between bold, assertive self-expression and the collective identity and ideals, what's good for the group. So ask yourself what it is that you're ready to say out loud, that you've been whispering to yourself, and say the weird thing. Just, you would be really shocked at how many people are willing to listen when you say the weird thing that's been on your mind. So they are probably thinking it too. So to wind down, I am going to do a little card pull. I got this awesome deck. It's really beautiful. And because, okay, how do cameras work? It's the Healing Herbology deck. I can't talk. The Healing Herbology deck from Grace Duong. She is the creative behind Mystic Mondays, and the deck is really, really pretty. And because it's the Taurus new moon and it's springtime, and there are so many beautiful plants blooming, and I'm a huge gardener, I thought this would be the perfect deck to draw a card from. So this is a card for everybody who's watching, listening. If you're not watching the live, then you're listening on the podcast later on when I upload it, then this is for you. So I'm just gonna, these are really beautiful. I'll just kind of show off the cards in a minute, but I'll just shuffle and pull one and read what comes up. So if you have any questions, if you're watching, feel free to, I don't know, ask me a question. We've got a few minutes. Thanks for being here, everybody. Appreciate it. It's nice not to just totally talk to myself, even though I do it all day. All right, let's see. Which card is the one for this new moon in Taurus? Oh. Okay. Oh. Now, if there was ever a better flower, this is the rose. New moon in Taurus. It just is the one that I picked. I'm not faking this. This is what it is. Look how pretty the illustrations are, though. This deck has just come out. I think it's probably about to hit stores very soon. So let me read what the definition of this is. So, got some good guests coming up for the show soon. I just recorded an episode yesterday with a really lovely Reiki energy worker who's really cool. She's in England. That episode will be coming out next week sometime. Getting better at trying to post and do stuff on a consistent basis, but grad school has really kind of thrown stuff off. So rose, as you can imagine, signifies beauty, romance, and love. And the affirmation they've written for this is, I am beautiful inside and out, and I share my many gifts with others. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The rose enchants with the allure of love, embodying the romance that sings through each one of its divine petals. Love is on its way to you, so be ready. The rose asks you to let your guard down and reveal your inner truth and inner beauty, the beauty that is timeless and exists without any limits. Allow yourself to receive the sweetness that life has to offer you. Every rose has thorns, and every single person has their unique story. Where would you be without the pain along with your triumphs? Celebrate all of yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because altogether it makes you the beautiful rose that you are. All right. Well, that is a serendipitous card that I pulled. I couldn't have asked for it, but I guess in some way I did. That's just what came out. So that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me, especially for those watching here on the live. I appreciate each and every one of you. Like, share the show with your friends. And I mean, that's how I grow. And Until next time, I wish you all the best the stars have to offer. I'm Aurora, and thanks for watching. Bye.